A less functional or a more dysfunctional royal relationship is Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. Obviously, they married in the 80s, divorced.
The relationship between Sarah Ferguson and Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor has always been odd. But the more we learn over the years, the more disturbing it gets. Both Sarah and Andrew, or as we know him, Randy Andy, have been involved in multiple affairs, seemingly demonstrating a concerning pattern, a lack of control when it comes to intimate affairs with the opposite sex. In January 1992, Buckingham Palace was scrambling after more than 120 photographs of Sarah Ferguson surfaced, showing her on holiday with an American oil tycoon named Steve Wyatt. These were not grainy paparazzi shots. They were clear, relaxed, intimate images taken over several days during a sunny getaway in May 1990. And according to royal author Nigel Cawthorne, the reaction from the palace was immediate.
Ferguson's alleged affair with Steve Wyatt led to Sarah Ferguson reportedly turned to Steve Wyatt out of loneliness, contributing to her divorce from Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor.
The late Queen, Queen Elizabeth II, reportedly gave Sarah a direct order to cut off all contact with Steve Wyatt. Full stop. What happened next is where this story really turns. Sarah Ferguson married Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor in July 1986 at Westminster Abbey, in a wedding watched by an estimated 500 million people around the world. At the time, it was sold as a fairy tale. Young, glamorous, modern. But behind the scenes, things were already strained. By the late 1980s, Andrew was frequently away with the Navy, and Sarah was often left alone, struggling with scrutiny, isolation, and public criticism. According to several royal biographers, that loneliness affected her in many ways. Sarah first met Steve Wyatt at a festival in Houston in November 1989. She was heavily pregnant at the time with her second daughter, Princess Eugenie. According to Andrew Lownie, someone present that evening later said there was an obvious chemistry between them.
Steve Wyatt was the main reason for the breakdown of her marriage, stated royal expert and co-author of Duchess of York, David Lee.
The very next day, Sarah flew more than 200 miles to visit Wyatt at his 16,000-acre ranch near the Rio Grande. That detail alone raised eyebrows. Yes, again, this occurred while she was pregnant. Just weeks after giving birth to Eugenie in March 1990, Sarah travelled to Morocco with her children to meet Wyatt again, staying at the luxurious Gazelle d'Or resort in the Atlas Mountains. These were not secretive encounters. They were open, bold, and increasingly risky. Then came the detail that shocked even hardened palace staff. In August 1990, Sarah introduced Steve Wyatt to Dr. Ramzi Salman, then head of the Iraqi State Oil Marketing Organization, at a dinner inside Buckingham Palace. As Andrew Lownie notes, this dinner took place in the same month Iraq invaded Kuwait. The timing alone made senior courtiers deeply uncomfortable. Not long after, Sarah and Wyatt were spotted together at another high-end dinner in Mayfair, hosted by Lord McAlpine. One diner later recalled what they described as an astonishingly public display of affection, saying they had never seen anything like it in a three-star restaurant.
Ferguson and Wyatt met in 1989 during the Houston Grand Opera's British Opera Festival and quickly became infatuated. Ferguson described Wyatt as the love of her life. Their affair strained her marriage, leading to one tense moment described by royal author Dr. Alan Starkey. Leaving Harry's bar in Mayfair after a party, Sarah tripped and fell.
By January 1992, when the 120 photographs were leaked to the press, the damage was done. One image, showing Wyatt with Princess Beatrice sitting on his knee, caused particular alarm. According to Nigel Cawthorne in War of the Windsors, the Queen personally ordered Sarah to end the relationship immediately. But reports at the time suggested Sarah did not comply. She allegedly visited Wyatt's London flat at least twice more after the order was given. Less than 2 months later, on March 19, 1992, Sarah and Andrew announced their separation. David Lee, co-author of Duchess of York Uncensored, later wrote that Wyatt was the main reason for the breakdown of the marriage. He said Sarah believed Wyatt was the love of her life, adding that she felt Andrew was not emotionally present when she needed him most. But the scandals did not stop there. By the summer of 1992, Sarah had begun an alleged relationship with her financial advisor, John Bryan. In August, just 5 months after her separation became public, she flew by private jet to the French Riviera with Bryan and her 2 young daughters. What happened next became one of the most infamous royal scandals of the 20th century. While lying on a sunbed in Saint-Tropez, John Bryan was photographed kissing and sucking Sarah's toes. The images were splashed across newspapers under brutal headlines. To this day, it remains unclear who tipped off the photographers to their exact location.
Years ago, John Bryan found himself at the heart of a royal story like no other, when these infamous toe-sucking pictures of him with his then-girlfriend Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, were splashed all over the tabloids.
According to Paul Burrell, Prince Philip was so furious that he temporarily banned Sarah from all royal residences. The humiliation was immense, and the consequences were lasting. What often gets overlooked is that Andrew's behaviour during the marriage was hardly spotless. Andrew Lownie alleges that Andrew slept with more than a dozen women during the first year of their marriage alone. He writes that friends claimed Andrew accepted that the marriage was over, eating alone in his study, while Sarah dined elsewhere in the house with one of her lovers. At the same time, Lownie says Sarah was deeply jealous of Andrew's girlfriends. She wanted to remain the one, with all the privileges that came with it, and was not inclined to step aside quietly. Their divorce was finalised in 1996, but their story did not end there. Despite everything, Sarah and Andrew continued to live together at Royal Lodge from 2008 onwards, long after their marriage ended. That arrangement is now coming to an end. After being stripped of their titles, King Charles III ordered Andrew and Sarah to vacate the 30-room Grade 2 listed mansion. Andrew is reportedly being moved to a private home on the Sandringham estate. Sarah, according to sources, has been left to make her own arrangements. One alleged friend told the Daily Mail that Sarah has nowhere to go and no one to go with. Another said people no longer want to be associated with her. And hanging over all of this is the later Epstein scandal. In April 2011, less than 2 months after saying she would never have anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein again, Sarah sent him an apologetic email, thanking him and expressing regret.
2 newspapers revealing an email by the Duchess of York with a grovelling apology 3 years after his conviction for prostituting teenage girls. As you know, I did not say the P word, meaning pedophile, about you. You have always been a steadfast, generous and supreme friend, she wrote. I was advised to have nothing to do with you.
When that correspondence became public in September 2025, she was dropped by 7 charities, including the Teenage Cancer Trust and the British Heart Foundation. Her spokesperson, James Henderson, said the email was sent after Epstein made a chilling phone call, threatening to destroy the family, and that Sarah acted out of fear for her daughters. So when people look back at the Steve Wyatt scandal today, it feels less like an isolated moment and more like the beginning of a long pattern. A pattern of defiance, poor judgment, and repeated clashes with the institution she married into. And it all began, reportedly, with one direct order from the Queen that Sarah chose not to follow. Of course, there were also the multiple, endless affairs on Andrew's part, but that's a whole other video. Let me know what you think. Do you see this as a woman acting out of desperation, or someone who consistently believed the rules did not apply to her? Share your thoughts below, and if you enjoy these royal stories, please subscribe so you do not miss the next one.